small step, like when Saudi Arabia, the women challenged.
Oh my God.
Hello, namaste. We are here again to bring you our informative, lively, and honest show on life situations happening around us. So, welcome to In Our Humble Opinion.
Ayo!
On my right is my panelist, my kaki, Prof. Gilbert Cheah.
Hello.
And on my left is Chris, handsome Henson.
Tsupuite.
And I am Daisy Irani Subaya, your cool grandma. Thank
Today
you.
cool, huh? Today.
Yeah, very cool.
Okay.
So, to start with, we yet have another incident of a maid falling from the HDB unit while cleaning windows. So, women, in particular maids in Singapore, are willing to take unheard risks because of the fear of losing their jobs. Is the fear of losing your job more important than the fear of losing your life? We shall see. We shall talk more about that. And unfortunately, to add fuel to the fire, the pandemic has rolled back years of progress towards equality between men and women and added decades towards closing the gender gap. So, we're going to find out what one can do about that. We also want you to add sunshine to your life. It's going to make you happy, make your bones stronger too. We shall tell you how. So, to start with, an Indonesian maid, 26, she died after allegedly falling from HDB unit while cleaning windows.
I don't think it was allegedly. I think it happened.
Okay. So, the maid has died because the investigations are yet going on. The Indonesian maid has died after she fell from the 6th story of an HDB unit. She was allegedly cleaning the windows when the tragedy happened. So, why are maids still made to perform these duties in such unsafe situations? Chris, what do you think?
You know, I case specific to this particular story, I wouldn't want to blame the employer at all because it's a senior citizen, it's a senior person, it's a lady in a wheelchair. And speaking from experience, even with my own helper, 2 helpers, one has been with me for many years and the current one that I have, every time I tell them, please don't clean the windows because it's dangerous, obviously, right? And how many times I've caught them doing it?
How are they cleaning it though?
Standing body out the window and going like that. I said, why? I never asked you to do this. And I've always been specific about it, but just somehow, I don't know.
Obviously, there's a safe way to clean windows and an unsafe way.
Yeah.
Right?
Frankly speaking, I really don't care whether the window is going to be dirty on the outside or not.
Yeah, but that's you though. I mean, there are a
Yeah.
lot of employers who do want that. And in the case of this old lady, for example, she could have given instructions, we don't know, to the maid to clean the windows. The problem basically, there's several issues here. One is the fear of the employer. I mean, the employer tells you to do something.
You
just want to please
Yes.
them.
Yes.
And even though you know, because you asked the rhetorical question, is it more important than, the fear
Losing
of falling?
your life.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I think that part of the reason is that at that moment, you just do what you're told to do. That's the inculcated training, basically.
Correct.
Yeah.
But Gilbert, I wouldn't want to generalize it so much either because there are employers like me who tell my helper not to do it.
Sure. I'm not
And
saying that it's
touch
employer's
wood,
fault.
If something had happened,
Yeah.
then everyone would inadvertently turn their fingers and point towards someone like me.
Correct.
Oh, you
Correct.
asked her to clean your
Of
windows.
course,
Yeah.
yes.
Can I just say that, moving away from the actual window part, in industry or in construction, there are always workplace safety regulations.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
Even if you want to change a bulb,
Yes.
the way you put your ladder and somebody's
Yeah.
got to
There's
hold
an
it.
SOP.
So all this is there. And if there are accidents or, the employers do not adhere to the rules, they are held accountable.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
do you think that if we have these simple regulations in place, it might help?
This is my question, whether there is one right now.
There is, I
when
think.
you're training the helpers,
And
are
saying
they
you do
trained?
not
Yes.
stand
Are they trained
on
as
the ledge.
how to clean
Correct.
Hang on.
HDB windows?
No, there is a law now. There was an accident not long ago, and if memory serves me correctly, helpers are barred from cleaning windows on the outside.
Exactly. So
Yes.
I have a solution to that. Okay, so I'm going to suggest that, high-rise office buildings and all, they have these special window cleaning services.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe this could be something that the condo management or the HDB should look into. Look, like you correctly said, everybody likes clean windows. The landed property guys don't have to worry. The maid can be standing outside, inside, anywhere. Fine, you're on the land. But it's like having your swimming pool cleaned or fumigation around the block. These certain services should be left to the professionals.
Actually-
so if we have that kind of service,
Not for
maids
HDB.
might
You can't do it
not
for HDB.
need-
It's prohibitively expensive. And you know how many HDB flats there are? And you've got all of these different issues. There are people who do not want people on the 19th floor to be looking into their window. You need to have the winges then, and at such height to clean it also.
well, let's
but
put it this way.
moving forward, we're trying to find a solution. So we say could be policy, could review regulations, guidelines, could be absolutely maids are coached when they join the employers that even if the employers want it, unlike you, they are not supposed to do it. Otherwise, push comes to shove, you find another solution. And HDB are getting very swank now anyway.
Actually, okay, let me...
So you can have the professional
I'll give you my
cleaners
solution, okay?
clean.
Chris, you want to jump in first before I
Actually,
give mine?
just to address something you've said just
Okay,
now.
sure.
Prohibitively expensive, perhaps, I'm not sure, for HDB. Let's talk about the MCSTs. According to the Strata Titles Act, every 6 years, because you talked about privacy of people coming down
Yeah.
on their winches
Yeah,
and all
yeah.
that. According to the Strata Titles Act, every 6 years, if I'm not mistaken, every private condominium must have a repainting
Painting, yes,
exercise.
yes, yes.
And you will have these people coming down in front of your
same with
windows anyway.
HDB as well.
Yes.
Yeah. But I don't think cleaning is not mandated.
Yes.
Yeah. However, there are laws where governing at least for private properties that you always need to keep the facade
Yes.
looking good.
Yeah.
Like you can't even hang your laundry over.
But that doesn't really apply to cleaning windows for HDB. And
Yeah,
I'll tell you the
sure.
other issue is that there are a lot of bamboo poles.
So that's why I'm
sticking
coming to
out.
this. That's why I'm coming to this. In
Yeah.
order, like what Daisy had said, right? Why could we can have the condos bringing these guys to clean the outside.
Yeah.
That will be up to the MCST, the council
And
managing
safety,
each
It's
right?
on council.
management council.
Because
town
we
council.
have pest control, we have fumigation, we have swimming
to
pool.
pass a
we have-
bylaw to have that done.
Yeah.
And that's going to be is a different story altogether.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not going to be something mandated. It's up to the private
Okay.
properties.
I think there is an easier way for this. The windows that I have in my flat, which I had installed at a very reasonable cost, that was almost the same as the normal HDB windows. They actually swing 360 degrees,
Walao,
so that you
you
can
are.
actually
But
clean
we
the
are
other
not
side.
allowed to.
No.
So in the
This is
condo,
HDB.
Yeah, but where I stay, there are certain even if you change the windows when you get the house renovated.
legal?
There are only certain windows that you can have, which has been regulated by the MCST. So you can't have 360 degrees.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah,
yeah,
For
I
MCST they won't allow that.
I
So
I think, however, that condos is a lesser problem simply because they're fewer in number. 80% of Singaporeans live in HDB, so that's a much bigger
but
problem.
that's what I'm saying. So when we look at safety versus trying to find solutions, one is to make sure, of course, that they are very, very like maybe she was here for the first time. She wanted to impress her employer, go above the call of duty and she underestimated the hazard of the
got an
job.
idea.
Maybe
I've got an idea. In your car, right? You have your wiper and your window washer, right?
oh dear. So
I mean,
all the
just-
windows is
somebody just come up. Okay. I mean, for the guys in the polytechnics or from the ITEs, they come up for a project. Well, you have windows
the
and you have
window,
your
yeah.
automatic washer that you can have linked somewhere to some water source somewhere. Press the button.
Okay.
No, and go.
Exactly. Yeah. Problem
Yeah,
solved, man.
two children here with
This is engineering stuff.
No,
dude.
but the onus is, I feel, on the employer. Are you listening to me, Chris? The onus is on the employer to make sure that the maid is absolutely prohibited to stand and clean those windows.
How to prohibit them when you're not home?
No, but Chris, God forbid, and you're right. Nobody's going to be saying, "Ayah, Chris said no," and they did it. No, it's like being a mother. When your kids are doing certain things, how to I'm going for my job. No, you're a mother That's your responsibility. You make sure that safety is looked after.
I think it also, as in the cases of abuse, it would help as well if the neighbors, when they see this, report it to the employer.
Yeah, but
and
the
to
amount the
inform them.
neighbors have to report
no,
now.
but that-
I think it's like full-time the neighbors.
No, it's whenever you
job.
notice something. It's just whenever you notice something, Daisy.
That's what
I know.
I remember that time when there was a helper that fell out and died, and the law came about that they barred cleaning of the windows on the outside. And I remember it was reported that if a neighbor were to report it, the law will come into effect. But frankly speaking, based on what Daisy just said, something. I mean, come on now. There's no way that you can actually monitor, except they're always drumming into their heads. Please don't do it. Please don't do it.
Chris, what I would say, I would make them sit down and say, listen, this is the last straw. If I ever find out you stood on that ledge, that's it. Thank you very much. Pack your bag, off you go.
Yeah.
It's better to say that than to look down one day and say, oh my God.
Even then, man, let me tell you something. Some people will just still continue doing
Yeah, well,
it.
then you've got some real strange.
So it's not just about the employer telling, or asking the maid or the helper to go clean the windows. There are employees like me who say, don't, please don't. And yet they still do it.
But I do think there are also a lot of employers who do not think about the safety and do ask the maid to clean.
Those
so
are
it's a
kotes lah.
combination
Those
of
are kotes
issues
lah.
there. So I think that the problem would best be solved if you had cleaning apparatus.
Yeah,
And they
yeah.
do have it on the market right now.
Yeah,
I've seen
yeah.
basically magnetic sponges.
Yes.
You basically put a sponge on the outside, there's a magnet, and you move this.
No,
it moves on
and
the
there
outside.
are also the very good point, because you can be standing there and use the correct equipment and
Yes,
the correct tools.
absolutely.
Which they have that, the long poles.
Exactly.
With
And
the,
I think the town councils
very
can
right.
actually supply the same way that
And
they
make it
supply.
mandatory.
Make it mandatory,
Yes.
say,
Yes.
for
Yeah,
this
but
price.
I think anyway, a message out to all employers of our FDWs. Come on, I mean, stop being a kote and asking them to clean the outside of your windows. Otherwise, you're gonna slap by your own. Never mind.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we are talking about women, the maids who go out of their way, like Chris's maids who want to keep the house so beautiful and the windows so shiny that they are willing to not be safe. So we've got to remind them that you have to be safe. This is our duty. Moving on to women and jobs, the COVID-19 pandemic delays gender parity by a generation. And there's a report that says that the pandemic has rolled back years of progress towards equality between men and women, according to a report on Wednesday showing the crisis has added decades to the trajectory towards closing the gender gap. Now, we know that the gender parity exists. We know there's a gap.
Disparity.
Disparity exists. But any situation that pushes back the agenda for women to achieve parity hurts. Now, so I'm going to ask Gilbert. Prof, what do you think?
Okay, first of all, we should specify that this was a report by the World Economic Forum.
Right.
And they've been doing this annually for many years, and they measure over 100 countries in the world, and they look at a lot of different categories of how equal in terms of opportunity and other factors the women are to men. So they look at, for example, employment. That's definitely a very big one. Economic participation. So this is what's really shocking, basically, is that in terms of economic participation, the gender gap would take 257 years, going by today's pace, for men and women to have parity. And this, compared to this is the 2020 report, compared to the 2019 report, when it was 202 years. So
we've gone
it's still
back
pretty dismal,
bad.
right?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
still is pretty
Far,
dismal.
far away.
And globally, only 55% of women are engaged in the labor market, as opposed to 78% of men.
But
so
that's again, when we talk about, I really believe when you read a report like the World Economic Forum, oh my God, that is such a huge picture. Tell us about Singapore, because see, this report is suggesting that women have had a hard time, which is natural because of the pandemic, losing jobs. I mean, because lots of women are in the hospitality industry, the travel industry.
it's not just
Maybe
that.
it's
No,
a
it's not
natural
that.
attrition.
No, it's not just that. It is in a lot of factors. For example, if there are layoffs, women are laid off first.
Yes.
If they are rehiring, women are rehired
Yeah.
last.
But-
So that's
but-
what this report
Yes.
is
Correct,
pointing
but
at as well.
I mean, practically on the ground, I look at something and I say, okay, if the flights are going to be grounded and they're going to be a large cohort of hostesses there, air hostesses. It's hospitality. Would you not?
No, but I
have
wouldn't say
to
that women
get-
are only in these occupations. We're
No,
talking
no,
about
I know.
even.
That's why we are talking about the World
Can I-
Economic
can-
Forum.
can I-
But I feel that sometimes these things are also, they count, right? During the pandemic. What kind of jobs went first in the pandemic?
All I can say is that, you know,
It's
this
a fact,
pandemic,
right?
okay, fine.
No.
Based on the report, the pandemic had rolled this back
Yes.
by decades. Sure.
Yes.
As
That's
you
it.
also said, and it's true, is I agree. Prior to the pandemic,
It was already
dismal. It was already dismal.
It was already
So-
bad. Nothing to do with
But
the
let me tell you
types of
something.
jobs,
Let me tell you
right?
something. Years
Yeah.
ago,
No, but we went even, we regressed even more.
But it's not because of
the
that.
pandemic.
It's not because of that. It's
years
not because
ago,
of
I
that.
told the missus, I said, you know something, don't ever leave the workforce, because there will come a day when you're in your 40s, and if you've been out of the workforce for even just 2 years, you might not be able to hop back on.
Yes.
Because you're a woman. Sad but true. And secondly, you know, there was a time when after our kid was born, of course, you go on a 4-month maternity, right? Guess what happened on the day she went back to work? Her stuff were all packed in a box already.
No.
You
First
mean
day
the
of work-
office was moving?
No, they told her to go.
It's-
Well, it served them damn right, because the company had to close down anyway.
Isn't it
Eventually.
illegal, though?
Yeah, and the asshole boss who did it to her got fired himself.
Okay, all right.
Calm
Back
as a
to-
bitch.
No.
But anyway, the point is that when, you know, so there are people like that. A man's world, being in a man's world, you know, I know a lot of women who are very powerful, who do well, really do well in life. But they always end up saying that, you know, it's so hard fighting in a man's world, right? Management, people equal rank, coming together, there's one big boss on there who's male. All the men there, one woman. And he tells her, can you get me a cup of coffee?
Yeah, of course.
You know what
This
I
is
mean?
part of the overall
You know,
ongoing
so,
issue
so
and problem.
it's so heartening right now that I'm sitting in the middle and have two men on either side.
Hey, I'm a
who are
feminist, man.
Fighting for women to be
I think that
equal.
the
And I love
situation-
that.
can I
Thank you
just
very
say-
much.
thank
Thank
you.
you very much, guys.
Can I
love
just say
that.
the situation around the world is actually very dire for women? And it's not just because they were laid off from hospitality jobs, okay? There are 72 countries in the world where women are not even allowed to open a bank account.
Yes,
Okay.
but then we are looking at cultural differences. We are looking at biological
Regardless,
differences.
it still
True.
is a sad state for women.
True, but-
and we cannot accept these cultural differences and say, fine, they will always remain in perpetuity. I think that these things need to be challenged, both in those countries as well as externally.
Absolutely,
from
but
the outside.
nobody is arguing with you and saying we do not challenge it. Of course, you want to, but then every small step, like when Saudi Arabia, the women challenged.
Oh my God.
And today they are driving. These are small things, small baby steps. What I'm trying to ask simply
The
is
point
that
basically is that it's
Singapore-
way too slow. Singapore is fine.
That's what I'm
Singapore
saying.
is doing a lot better,
What
but
is-
I don't think that that's just the issue for us to then say, okay, we're doing fine. We don't
But
have to be concerned
so what
about
would
the
you
rest
like
of
to
the world.
suggest that
Exactly.
people in Saudi, the women who are already working on this, a lot of the groups are working towards getting more liberty or equality for the women. What else do they do? Because half of them land up in jail anyway.
Why does it have to be on them? Why can't it be on the men?
No, so it's not, because the men aren't taking the responsibility.
That's my point.
That's when the
my
women
point.
come up
The
to
men
take
need
the
to
men's
do
responsibility.
something more, need to do a lot more, and not just think that the women need to be the ones fighting for themselves.
But that's true, but they're not doing it. So when they don't, that's when the women take over.
Yes, but you cannot then say just because the men are not doing it, it's fine, let the women then take
It's
over.
not fine.
Yes.
It's just that you don't have any other solution. You are helpless. So you
Daisy,
take it
I'm
upon
trying to understand.
yourself.
So are you then saying that the status quo as it is right now is fine, and that this discussion
Gilbert,
that we're
are you
having...
listening to me?
Yes.
There is no question about it being okay.
Okay.
But what I'm trying to say is, because this report specifically mentioned the pandemic. Yes, the
No,
pace
this
has
report
always been
is
slow.
every year, and the pandemic has led to
Make
these
it-
things and made it
correct,
worse.
made it worse. That's what I'm saying.
So we're not talking about specifically just the pandemic making things worse. We're talking about the global
situation just
situation
being
and how
worse.
terrible it
Yes,
is,
yes.
basically, and how much more everybody needs to do to help this. Why is Chris sitting there smirking?
Okay.
Tell
So
me.
I'm not smirking.
No, so I'm going to
Yes,
ask
you
you.
are.
So
I'm
gonna
just
ask
keeping
you-
quiet
no,
about
so I'm
this,
gonna
man.
ask you, Gilbert.
Yes.
Okay. So if there was one thing today, as a person who is so concerned about this, rightly so, if there was some law that you had to pass
No, it's not a law.
globally.
Not a law. I think
It
that
is.
there are
It's-
many things that need to be done. Let me
Right.
share with you
Let-
some
let-
of these
why
things.
don't you?
Okay?
Because
I think it's very important, first of all, to have role models for women to get into positions where other young girls can see them. Let's take, for example, the
And they
field.
are. Sandberg, but okay.
Can you let me finish my point before
Yeah,
you interrupt?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
There is a great lack of role models around the world. For example, there are not enough women who are in engineering. And one of the reasons for this is because there are not very many visible women engineers. But when there are more women who are in engineering or in science, and they are highlighted in the media, for example, more young girls then want to be scientists, and more young girls then want to be engineers, you see. So this is very important. So the media has a big role to play in this, in highlighting women of accomplishment in fields that traditionally are not feminine oriented.
Agreed.
That's
No,
one
true.
thing there.
But then
right?
they should, I'm waiting. I've always read, I've always heard about women and men having these biological differences and disparity and parity. And there are certain jobs, like for example, I was talking to some friends who are bankers, and they have always talked about the trading floor and said, for some reason, there aren't enough women traders. I'm talking about the actual floor.
Well, that doesn't exist anymore because people don't trade on the floor anymore.
No, but there was a time
Yes.
when you could actually see, or I've met people who work on the oil rigs, for example. Now, I'm not saying that women should not do those jobs. I agree with you that when somebody is an engineer, and yes, they are fine between now, they should be highlighted. But I also feel there are enough. I mean, we are in the right path.
No,
The
I see, I
women
so
are
disagree.
working. Slow,
But
yes.
Gilbert,
But we are moving.
If we were to compare the disparity back in the 19th century and what it is today, it is far better today.
Oh, of course, but that's a
we
terrible
are-
standard to
No,
compare
No,
ourselves to.
no. I'm not saying
might
that. I'm
be
just saying we must also look at how things have progressed
Positive,
too.
yes.
But if you want to simply say, okay, things have progressed so well, so it's good.
But-
that's one argument you can make.
No,
I'm
we-
saying there's so much more that needs
Yeah,
to
Yeah,
be
but
done.
at
Of
least
course.
at least things are forward
course.
moving. No, I'm with you here, man.
Yeah,
I'm
we
not,
all are with you.
I'm not saying that
No,
women
but I
should
don't
not
understand
be.
why you guys, especially Daisy in this case, is so insistent on highlighting the positive when there is so much negative
No,
that
what
needs
I'm trying to
be
okay,
highlighted.
let me tell you why.
Yes.
Let me tell you why.
Okay.
We know the negative. Every woman has been fighting the ceiling, from floor to the ceiling. Every woman wants to be on that board,
Right,
but
right.
she can't get on that board. So we know, I know.
So
I
what
have
can
a
we
daughter.
do? That's the
Right,
point.
right.
What can we do?
What I'm trying to
That's
say
what I want
is-
this discussion to
Correct.
be about.
So
rather
like
to
you-
say, compared to the 19th century,
No,
we were a lot
true.
better.
What
No, I
can
mean,
we
there's
do?
gotta
What can we do?
Frankly, sitting here, what I feel, we are already empowering. We are already the women, whether it is aware, whether it is the
I don't think it's
organization.
enough
You've got
at
to
all.
understand.
No, it's maybe not enough, but
wha-
whatever we can do, and I'm talking about Singapore because I've not had. India is
And as I
way
said,
back.
Singapore is okay. We
So
ranked
we are
54th.
moving ahead.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about Singapore. I'm talking about the global picture here because this is a global report.
Why did
you
I
see.
raise the 19th century? Simply because, look, from that time and moving forward to the present day, right? Yes, with the pandemic is rolled back by decades. The point is that minds have changed.
Yes.
And minds are continuing to change, and I think that's a good positive to work on. Not as if we're still back in the dark ages
of
when no
course,
one is
yes.
which is a good thing.
But there's
You know?
still so much that needs to be done.
So basically, the idea is that mindsets have got to change and continue
And
to
continue
change.
to change, yes. And according
And
to
what do
Gilbert,
we need to
and I
do?
agree, at an accelerated
Yes.
speed.
You're right about
Yes.
media has got to report or better stuff where women's positions are concerned. They've got a big major role to
I'll
play.
give you an example, okay? One of the most positive developments in this report is the fact that in political participation, more women than ever are going to politics.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons for that is because of very visible role models like Jacinda Ardern in New Zealand and other female leaders. And because they are there, young women, young girls then
Are
say,
inspired.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that's one big area that we need to
Correct.
see
Can I,
more
can I,
of.
Gilbert, can I
Correct.
just mention something? Now
Correct.
that you mentioned Jacinda Ardern, I come from India. Mrs. Gandhi was our prime minister in the 70s
and in Pakistan
80s.
as well. Yes.
Pakistan, Golda Meir.
Yes,
So
yes.
there have been these role models.
Exactly.
I
And they are
agree.
wonderful.
Margaret
Accelerate
Thatcher.
the speed.
Exactly.
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
But
And the
that's my
Queen.
point. That is the reason, because of these women, that is why there are more women in politics than in other
Yes.
occupations where we're lagging behind.
So mindsets
And-
start to change because the media have also been doing some good stuff too. Not that they haven't.
Okay, can I
More
say-
could be done, surely.
Can I say on a
I
very,
agree.
very small, very Singapore level, what and like I said, it's not the World Economic Report.
Sure.
But what I felt so happy during the pandemic is when I saw these women, so many of them realizing that, oh my God, things are going to be difficult, dire, and they started becoming entrepreneurs and, you know, women, whether it was baking, whether it's fashion, whether it's
Yeah.
moving away. And that was very, very heartening and empowering to watch.
Yep.
And on that note, because it's an empowering thing, it's a happy thing, it's a sunny thing, we are going to now move on to the sunny vitamin D and how many people in sunny Singapore lack this happy, sunny vitamin D, which affects your health. And of course, we have Prof here who does his own health show, and he's going to talk to us about vitamin D, the happy, sunny hormone. No, vitamin.
Hormone.
No. It is a hormone.
It is.
It is
It's
a
a
hormone.
sunny one.
It's a hormone.
Educate
you
us,
smile.
please,
That's
about
one
that
of those
hormone.
things.
Because I
Okay.
take a lot of sunshine, I'm always
Well, I
smiling.
hope that hormone makes me happy.
One of the reasons why this came in the news is because the Temasek Foundation, which is the philanthropic arm of the Temasek investment, is distributing or has distributed bottles of vitamin D to lower income families. And one of the reasons they did this was because they saw that there was a severe deficiency among many Singaporeans, which is surprising because the main way that we get vitamin D is not through food, it is through sunlight.
Sunlight.
Sun,
And we
yes.
need to be exposed to the sun for about 20 minutes a day.
day.
All right, to be able to get enough vitamin C. And very few of us do that because even though we live in sunny Singapore, we hide from the sun. We slather on sunblock, which is a wise thing to do because you don't want to get skin cancer either. But one of the negative aspects of that is that you then become vitamin D deficient. Now, vitamin D is a very, very important nutrient. It is such an important nutrient because it plays a multiplicity of roles in the human body, including your immune system. Your immune system is very dependent on vitamin D, and it is actually a pro-hormone. So it is much more than just a nutrient like vitamin C. It's actually a hormone. Your body cannot store it, and your body cannot manufacture it. So this is one of the things that Temasek is trying to do, is to get people. And what I would advise all of you to do is, if you are in the lower income and you got the pills from Temasek, fine, make sure you take it because the dose is not very high. It's a safe dose. But everyone should really, when they go for their annual physical, get your vitamin D levels checked. That is so important.
I find
you
this
know,
so
you're-
strange
Yeah.
in sunny Singapore, really, because when I was in Scandinavia 2 years ago, and during the winter months, right, they have long nights and short days. I only see sunlight like 3 hours. The rest of the time you're in darkness.
Yeah.
And people go gazonkas a little bit because I'm not seeing the
It's
sun.
seasonal affective disorder.
Yeah, man. You know what the Norwegians really buy? The Danes and the Norwegians, they go out there and they stock up on vitamin D supplements and fish oil.
Yes.
Okay, you go to a hotel and you go for the buffet, right? They always have tons of fish oil for you, just for you to go for it.
That's part of their native diet.
And
The Eskimos.
and it drives them nuts, if they don't take their vitamin Ds. But here we are in tropical Singapore with so much sun.
Yeah, but
I
goes
love
out.
getting into the sun, man.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right when you say we're in sunny Singapore and we are lacking, because I do feel that people don't go out because it's a combination of vanity and fear.
Yeah.
Correctly, like you
And,
said.
and, and discomfort is so hard.
Yeah, because vanity,
And the
there's yet a
humidity.
premium on being fair, and I'm talking about the women here.
And
so
men
it's like
too.
sunblock and men too.
Yeah.
And the fear,
Many men.
the fear is about skin cancer.
Yeah.
And also, with women, I know I've met women who, you get pigmentation and you're like, oh my God, I got this because of the sun. And
So, you definitely do want to get your vitamin D levels checked when you have your annual physical. And if you are deficient, you need to address
Yeah,
it.
but
it
you know the
happened to my
problem-
husband, Gilbert. He had a fracture, a small one on his foot. And actually, at that time, when they said, you've got to get yourself tested for vitamin D, I was the one who laughed and said, we are in sunny Singapore, you play golf, how can you? So that's another thing, because
Yes.
he was deficient for vitamin D.
Despite the fact that he plays golf.
Correct. So that's another thing that one must be mindful. That just because you play golf or just because
Is your husband
you do
dark-skinned?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's
Yes.
because that's
So
a good reason
That
why.
is one of the reasons
Correct.
why.
Yeah.
So
Because
this is also
people with
some
darker skin have
Pigmentation.
natural pigmentation
Yes.
that blocks the sun.
Correct. So
your
something to-
skin doesn't absorb it.
Yeah,
so
Correct.
much.
so something to think about.
And open to lupus as well.
While you're trying to remain fair, but even if you're dark,
Yes.
please get it tested.
And one more thing,
and
when-
have your
When
vitamins.
these guys go play golf, I notice even for the men, they cover up. They cover up with long sleeves and all. It doesn't work. You're not going to get your vitamin D because you're covered up.
Yeah.
You know, Chris, what really works? You see, there is
Mm-hmm. Running around stark naked by the side of the pool.
yoga. There
Thanks
is-
for that image.
There's a specific exercise
Ding-a-ling,
which we
ding-a-ling,
call.
ding-a-ling.
No, listen. Because if you don't listen, they won't listen.
Yeah, here we go.
Okay.
I got scolding
So
already,
in
see?
yoga, there is an exercise called Surya Namaskar.
What?
And it's Surya Namaskar.
Okay.
Surya being the sun. And it's specifically the first thing you do when the sun is rising, where it's sun salutation. And it is amazing because those rays of the sun, how beneficial they are. You will notice your skin glowing, even though you're in the sun, your eyes are sharper, brighter. So just, if you want to take on yoga, maybe you can start with
But the
Surya
women in
Namaskar.
Singapore,
Yeah, you
right?
still have to be out in the sun though.
The
Doing
women-
yoga indoors is not going to get you.
Yeah.
But
Agree,
most of the
agree.
younger
That is
women
it.
in Singapore, they want to have that fairness, that fair skin,
I know, I
They-
can see her.
They want,
Many
they
men
want
too.
to
in front of me with the camera.
And
She
many
wants
men
to
too.
be fair.
Okay. And they want to follow, the Japanese complexion, the Korean complexion.
yes.
By the way, she is
Whiteness.
Korean, just to let you know.
It's not
Yes.
just women.
So, the men want to look like
But
the guys from
you want to look
what's
fair.
that?
I like to
The Korean
get tan.
boy
I've been
bands
trying to
and
get
stuff.
myself tan.
Yeah. You've been trying to get yourself
Okay,
tan.
guys.
Okay, hard to
So
believe.
I'd like
So,
to.
they keep, they,
I
they
got
want
very
to keep
little
out the
melanin.
sun.
Okay, so to end here, the topic of our happy vitamin
That
D.
was fast.
Please have the happy hormone. It will reduce depression and anxiety and control your mood swings
And
too.
boost your immunity.
It can be like
Basically.
Superman, who needs the sun too.
Oh yeah, but he's
And then you wear your underwear on the outside.
yeah, but he's totally got so much on. Where? Oh,
No,
only in his
don't
face.
you know Superman? He gets his superpowers because of the sun. It's
The
true.
yellow sun.
But only through the face.
Sun, yellow sun. What are you talking about, dude?
He does not have superpowers in the red sun of Krypton. Only when he came to Earth and was exposed to the yellow sun of Earth that he got superpowers.
So
He
we are
is so
saying
right there, man.
yeah. So
Not
we are
from the red
saying-
dwarf, but from the normal sun, right?
correct. So we are saying expose yourself to the normal sun. We don't need to go to Krypton.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
So
Krypton
let's,
very far away.
So, we have come to the end of our show. We just want we are going to go to Chris for his ditties and titties.
Okay.
And let's
Are you
get
ready, darling?
Yeah.
For Chris's Diddy?
Yes. Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. Short one, promise. Here's my ditty. I know you want to be kawaii. Look so fair and powdery. Getting no sun can be scary. Wait when Ola bones cannot carry. Take a shot when it's hot. It's not like you're boiling in a pot. 20 minutes of sunshine will really treat your body kind. Please don't get paranoid to look like a cake so white. Trying hard to look like a doll, that's way too fair, macam Panadol.
Well, but why is it in
Only one subject
English
today.
accent?
Yeah.
But very nice.
I think it's
Very
short,
nice.
right?
I like this. Okay. Gilbert is going to
Panadol,
close.
Panadol. This one, Panadol.
Gilbert is going to close.
Because I have a headache.
Panadol, putih.
I wouldn't have to be Panadol if the headache wasn't right here.
Right now,
Too white.
I'm the one who's going to take Panadol because of these two guys. So, Gilbert is going to close. Should I say
Yes,
my
please.
bits,
Yeah, say your bits, please.
Yeah. So, today we talked about the job pressures on women and the genre disparity which is growing. And I just want to let you know there is no such thing as a woman who doesn't work. There's only a woman who isn't paid for her work.
Absolutely.
So just to remind you in the words of Laila Abulela, who is a Sudanese writer, all through life, there are distinctions. All through life, there are distinctions. Toilets for men, toilets for women, and I suppose jobs for men and jobs for women. But then at the end, the graves are identical. Something to think about. Thank you. Namaste.
Wow.
Somber. So, the stories we talked about today, at least the first two main ones about the status of the foreign domestic workers falling to their deaths while cleaning windows, as well as the gender disparity in the world, do come down really to each of us contributing. I think that this is very important. Whether in a small way, you happen to be on your way home, you see your neighbor's maid hanging out, don't just stay silent. In the same way as if you hear a child screaming because they're being beaten, or a domestic worker with a bruised eye in the lift, don't just look away. It is incumbent upon every one of us to do our part.
Correct.
We don't have to be monitors. You don't have to sit out there with binoculars, the whole day looking at your neighbors. But when you come across something, do something. Just in the US, I think you guys may have heard about this, there was this very startling, horrifying case of the Filipino grandma who was beaten and kicked right on the street, while the security guards looked at it
on, yes.
and then just closed the door on her.
Bloody idiots.
Horrifying.
Horrifying.
But in our own ways, too many of us close the door and close our eyes and close our ears to the plight of people around us, and we cannot do this. So, in closing, I just want to say, say this to yourself. When you want to see something wrong, if not me, who? If not now, when? It is up to us to then get involved and to do something about it.
Do something.
In something big or something small, because the small things add up to become big movements and big changes.
Right.
So that's it for this week. Be safe and be kind, and join us again next week, and do share, listen, and give us your comments.
Yes.
And thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you again next week on another episode of Ayoho. I already said be safe and be kind.
Did that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Aiyo.
Wow, damn tight, man. Take out my bra already. Finish already,
Oh my
no?
God,
Cut
can
lah.
we cut, please?
Okay, bye.